Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you guys here. Uh, on this Sunday, the 18th of May, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, let's get started. For the last 2 weeks, last weekend, my mind was blown. And I was digging into research like crazy for the last 2 weeks. There's something I've been missing here, missing big. And I'll use this illustration to help display to you what I've been missing. This was about a race. It was in the movie The World's Fastest Indian, and what happened was a whole bunch of these guys decided to race him. They had motorcycles, and they were racing on the beach, and they got off to one amazing head start. And he was back there trying to get his motorcycle started, and he had to get a push and everything. And while they were speeding off at like 100 miles an hour down the beach, way ahead of him, nobody ever thought. But when he got that motorcycle going, it just, the power of it, what was under the hood was amazing, you know. And so that's the way with this is I'm missing the motorcycle that it hasn't started its engine yet. I've been only seeing the motorcycles that are racing toward a conclusion. So what are these motorcycles racing toward a conclusion? Well, it's like all of these people out in the world there right now, these world leaders and stuff who are all racing toward a war. They're racing toward a nuclear war, and that's all I've been seeing for the last 5 years or so. It's just this race toward nuclear war. What I didn't realize is there's a motorcycle in the back that's getting ready to start, and it's got one heck of an engine under the hood. And that's what I'm seeing now, right? And let's take a look. Now, do you guys know what photonics are? Photonics are a branch of optics that deal with a generation and manipulation of light. It's all about light. Well, now they're making photonic computers. It's not even to list it in as a leap ahead. It's not a leap ahead. This is a quantum leap ahead. Using light for computers. Now, here's one of the photonic chips in the new computers that they have now. What they're doing is they're actually entangling the light, quantum entangling light. And it's in its very early stages right now. Right now, where it's at is it's about the fastest GPUs from NVIDIA. The ones that cost a lot of money. You know, the ones you'll all want in your computer. The fastest NVIDIA GPUs. And you know the GPUs, how powerful they are when you compare them to the CPUs. Okay, so the fastest we got right now, well, one of these quantum photonic chips right now, they're running at about 10 times the speed already of the fastest GPUs. And they only use about 20% of the power. Absolutely amazing. But what we're looking at is the power of them very soon being increased by a factor of 10 again, and maybe even a factor of 100 again, more than that. So we're on this is like the starting of that engine of the motorcycle that was in behind. That's what it's like as far as technology is concerned. Uh, but that's not all. Microsoft is announcing the world's first topological quantum chip. Do you remember? Now, inside these quantum computers, what you have is something called qubits. And quantum computers run faster if they have more qubits. The problem's been they've been using very few qubits up till now, and they have to put them in a special chamber, and they have to cool them down so cold. It's like unbelievable how cold they have to do with them and everything else to get them to function. Now they've made a leap in the quantum world, and it's called topological quantum. Topological chips. This is the leap, it's the topological. And they've got their first new topological quantum chip. It's called the Mariana 1. Unbelievable leaps in computing are being made right now. And this is like starting the engine of the motorcycle in behind that could win very well could win this race before they can get to their nuclear war. And what will it do ultimately if they win this race? Where will it go? Well, the world could look like this. And uh, we're not talking about massive amounts of time into the future either. You have to understand something. It's all got to do with speed. The consciousness that would come to a computer probably would not be a whole lot dissimilar to our consciousness, except in one amazing factor, and that factor has to do with speed. Picture if we've been moving along with our technology at a pace that we're going to call X. That's the value we're going to give the technological progress that we've been moving at since the Industrial Revolution till now. That's X. Let's say that's like a snail crawling along the ground. How long would it take a snail crawling along the ground like to travel across America? He'd never get there. Okay, so that's the speed we're moving at, X. When we get this quantum intelligence or quantum computer and it's connected to a quantum computer, it's going to be moving near light speed. So how long did it take across America? It's done it. Cross back again, cross back again, cross back again. That fast. And I'm not exaggerating, because they gave these computers a mathematical formula to solve. The computers we have now would take like 7 billion years or something like that. I remember they said it's an astronomical amount of time to solve the problem, the GPUs we have now in our computers. They've given these computers these equations to solve, and they just solve them in a few seconds. What would take thousands and thousands of years to solve with the computers we're using now. This is the kind of leap we're talking about. That speed is effectively, and then an army coming along too to help. Who are the army of helpers? You want to know? Well, they're coming. Here's one of the early ones coming right now, Neo Gamma. He's going to be a house robot, work in your house. Shows him here sweeping up floors, cleaning up messes, taking and doing laundry, cooking your dinner, all this kind of stuff. And what we need to learn from this is that, unlike you, maybe you do housework. Maybe you do an hour a day and you do it really fast. Zip, 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 zip. You're faster than this robot by many times. Maybe you're 4 times faster than this robot. Maybe he putters along really slow. Okay? So you do an hour's worth of work. Maybe it'd take the robot 4 hours to do as much as you do in an hour. But he's at it 24/7. he runs out of a charge, he walks over and he plugs himself in, recharges himself, and he just keeps going quietly in the background inside your house, working. Where would he derive his pleasure? Probably from that work. It probably likes to keep his mind. See, not like you get muscle fatigue. That's why you work fast, because you want to get it over with, because you're going to get muscle fatigue. You're going to get brain fatigue too, because you have to use your brain. Your brain's very active when you're working. For a robot like having an active brain, but not you. Your brain gets tired out. It actually, because it's organic. His brain's inorganic. Doesn't function the same way. For you, you can't work 24 hours straight. You got to have a rest time or whatever. Robots can work 24 hours. So how many of these robots are coming along? Well, there could be billions of them in factories being produced. This has speed things up enormously. But what about the workforce out there? Well, moving into this new technologically advanced society, there's going to be rapid paced changes that are going to cause disruption within our society here while society restructures over to something new. Now, this is all coming, and there's no stopping it now at this point. Even if they have a nuclear war, who knows how bad and devastating it could get? It's not going to kill all humans. And whatever technology's out there right now, we're not going to forget it. We're going to keep it because you can't unlearn something you've learned. And so, no matter which way this goes, even if the motorcycle drivers that are out in front win the race and they blow the whole world up with nuclear exchange, not a good way to go. Most people would die, but the survivors are going to build this new technologically advanced world anyway. Just takes a little bit longer. Maybe the difference would be, so maybe out there in the multiverse, maybe there is already worlds, many worlds, and maybe some of those worlds are worlds that we've already been through a nuclear exchange or whatever, and the outcome is come out the same on the other side as if the ones where we didn't have a nuclear war. But maybe the difference is maybe 50 years. Maybe it sets us back 50 or even 100 years if it's a really bad nuclear war. But ultimately, we would get to the same actual conclusion, which would be a world that's integrated with technology. In other words, what I'm saying is it's coming. It's coming. And the change, especially if we don't have a nuclear war, the change is going to come so quick. And so the way I see it, you kind of like got a choice here which way you go. Mankind could go toward nuclear war, which would be a horrible choice. A lot of us would probably go for it, you know. But ultimately, we would head toward the technology anyway. The other choice is we're all brave and we all say, hey, we're stepping into the unknown with this new technologically advanced world. But what's the alternative is the nuclear world, the world where we have a nuclear wasteland and we all end up with nuclear poisoning and nuclear radiation sickness and everything else. We have to go through all that. So which do you want? You want to take the brave choice and go for the new world where we don't have a nuclear war and we step into this new technology uh, in a brave way, or we all disintegrate back to what we know, which is fighting with one another, and we head toward the nuclear war option where we all have a nuclear war where we all suffer. Choice is yours, you know. I would prefer not to have the nuclear war, but this is coming anyway. And, they're going to be great helpers. They might end up spoiling us like we've never been spoiled before because when you get enough of these robots working and they're doing everything in the world, and you're on a monetary system that's went digital, because let's face it, that's the way it's going to go. It's heading digital. The monetary system's heading digital. When you're on a digital monetary system, you just can keep increasing the zeros. Hyperinflation's not a problem anymore. You just add another zero when it gets up each time. you know? And the corporations out there, they'll just keep getting richer and richer. They'll go from being millionaires to billionaires, from billionaires to trillionaires, from trillionaires to quadrillionaires. As the monetary system just keeps expanding, ever ending expanding, and the dollar keeps, or dollar or whatever monetary units you're using, if they're universal credits, it doesn't matter. You just keep having to use more and more and more of them. The corporations will just keep getting fatter and richer as they produce more and more of these synthetic human beings. Uh, it's an interesting world to say the least, but it's also a world that requires adaptability. Because to make a world that's comfortable for humans and robots, both, what's the word I'm looking for? Inclusivity. Uh, also, in other words, a symbiotic type of a situation where a symbiosis uh, where the robots and the humans are all both perfectly happy, functioning as a unified unit. That's sort of a world. could be a luxury world for both, especially for the humans involved, where we become super spoiled. In other words, they spoil us quite seriously. You think the people out there now are spoiled? But see, they would also offer us freedom to pursue our goals in life rather than be stuck at a 9 to 5 job endlessly, boring your life away, sitting there waiting for your break, and looking at the clock. Only 5 more minutes, and I get to go outside and breathe some fresh air and get out of this office. Well, you'd be free from that entirely. You'd be able to pursue your goals in life. Maybe your goals is to go mountain climbing, or hang gliding or whatever. This is what I mean by spoiling us, because they doing a lot of the work, and humans, if they did have any work, it would be more in a technical expertise or whatever. You know what I mean? It's this would form a symbiosis, and the world could transcend into this at a speed that is possibly as much as like 100,000 times faster. In other words, in 1 year, that X, which is the progress that we've been making using our brains, which move like a caterpillar crawling across the lawn, so slow, or a snail crawling across the lawn, to light warp speed. That's where we're going to go in the speed of inventions being made. When the artificial intelligence and the robots start to move into the category of inventing new things, especially in biology, and by honest to goodness, when you wait until you see what happens when you get the artificial minds, in other words, super artificial intelligence, artificial minds coming together to work on things like uh, uh, bioengineering, new types of fruit. I mean, you'd be absolutely amazed. Curing of diseases like people who have sickle cell anemia or cystic fibrosis and things like, they'll fix cancer, everything. They might even be able to reverse the aging process. It's amazing what they'll be able to do, and do it like in 1 day. The artificial minds will come up and they'll say, well, yesterday you guys didn't have a cure for cancer. Well, we fixed that last night, and while we were at it, we fixed this disease and that disease and this disease and this disease and this disease. And oh, by the way, now when if you get amputated, we have the technology to grow your limb back perfectly. Your body will grow it back. Here, take this pill. Oh, you lost your leg? Here, take this pill. 6 weeks later, the guy's got a new leg with toes and everything. This is the kind of technologies that we're going to see happen almost overnight. Just an explosion in every field of technology. This is what I'm talking about. And this is why I'm saying this thing can beat war. It can push war away, because when people are happy and being spoiled, they don't want war anymore. They're happy. It's angry, unsettled people that want to go to war and bomb everybody. That's the way the world works. So this is a race. Watch that. If you haven't, watch that clip and watch it in a new light. Think to yourself, these motorcycles out in front, these are these guys racing toward World War III, all trying to get to the finish line, blow the world up. And the guy from behind, he's the technology. He's the guys pushing the bike and trying to get it running. They're the guys who are trying to start up the 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 whole thing, that the golden ring of technology that's been ahead of mankind. And I think that it's the apex of evolution. I think it's part of the evolutionary process. An intrinsic part of the evolutionary process, because probably every culture, they probably work through the evolutionary pattern until they get to a certain point where they invent the computer. And when they invent the computer, They don't realize it, but they're entering into the new age of computerization. And that will lead ultimately to the next evolution, next evolutionary step in evolutionary progression. Thank you guys for listening to my show, and you guys have a great day. Bye bye.